the Caucas Takeover of the UFC's Middleweight division. I'm going to say it right now. There is a takeover occurring at 185 pounds. You look at the top of the weight class right now, you might be like, what are you talking about? You got Adesanya, a guy from Nigeria. We got Robert Whittaker from New Zealand, Australia. Jared Cannonier from America. Vettori from Italy. Alex Pereira from Brazil. Strickland from America. What are you talking about? A Caucas takeover of the UFC middleweight division. Well, what I'm talking about is this. Roman Dolidze going on a 3-fight TKO streak and then getting a huge step up in competition to take on Marvin Vettori in the UFC middleweight division. They gave Roman Dolidze, after a win over number 10, they pushed him all the way to number 3 in the UFC middleweight division. That was their first kind of attempt to bring the Caucas fighters of the middleweight division to the top. That was attempt number 1. Attempt number 2. We had Nasruddin Imavov versus Sean Strickland as the main event of UFC Fight Night. Strickland versus Imavov. Originally it was Kelvin Gastelum, but they were like, no, we gotta bring in the Caucas fighters to get their rise in the UFC's middleweight division. You might be thinking, he's from France. No, he's originally from Russia. And they were trying to do that again. Number 12 all the way up to, at the time, number 6 in the UFC middleweight division. That was another one of their attempts to bring in another one of those Caucas fighters to the top of the UFC middleweight division. That's already 2. Just this year. That's 2 things this year. Roman Dolidze, they gave him 7 ranking points ahead to go and fight Marvin Vettori. They gave Nasruddin Imavov like 6 or 7 ranking points ahead to go up and fight against Sean Strickland there. We go down a little bit more as well in the UFC's middleweight division. And we got Paulo Costa versus Ikram Aliskerov. Another influx of the Caucas fighter of the UFC middleweight division, just getting the most random step up to Paulo Costa, who on the UFC rankings is number 5. This is the biggest example of the Caucas takeover of the UFC middleweight division. And a guy that beat Phil Hawes in his UFC debut. Let's take a look at Phil Hawes' record really quick here. Phil Hawes is about 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Lost to Chris Curtis in round 1 by knockout, the same way Ikram Aliskerov was able to. But guess what happened when Chris Curtis beat Phil Hawes? Who did he get? An unranked Brendan Allen. That's who he gets for winning. When Roman Dolidze was able to go out there and get Phil Hawes and knock him out, he got the step up against Jack Hermanson because he's from the Caucas region. Chris Curtis didn't get that step up since he was able to beat Phil Hawes. But Ikram Aliskerov was able to and fight Paulo Costa. And Roman Dolidze was able to go fight Jack Hermanson. And then now, and after that, fight Marvin Vettori. That's another example of the Caucas takeover of the middleweight division. We got another one. For you. Sean Strickland, Abus Magomedov. What is this? What in the world is this? Sean Strickland coming off a win over ranked Nasruddin Imavov, another guy they were trying to push a little bit there. Coming off 2 losses before that, a former champion and then a split decision that I kind of disagree with. And you got Abus Magomedov, who has 1 win in the UFC against Dustin Stoltzfus, and is now going to be in the main event of a UFC fight night against Sean Strickland. Who are some other guys that were able to go out there and finish my guy Dustin Stoltzfus? Well, we got Rodolfo Vieira. Rodolfo Vieira was able to finish him. And what did he get after that? Chris Curtis. Before he was ranked. We had Gerald Meerschaert able to submit Dustin Stoltzfus. Who did he get after getting that win? He got Chris Jotko, an unranked guy. We had Kyle Dawkins able to win that fight. Who did he get after beating Dustin Stoltzfus? Phil Hawes, another unranked guy. But as soon as Abus Magomedov is able to go out there and win that fight, he gets Sean Strickland. That is absolutely insane. I'm looking at the rankings right now, and I'm thinking about some guys that would be more worthy at this point to go inside of that top 15 and fight Sean Strickland and fight against guys like Marvin Vettori, Jerry Cannonier, Derek Brunson, Paulo Costa. There's plenty of names. There's plenty of names. We got Caio Borralho. For sure deserves a shot in that top 15. But he's not from the Caucas region, so they're not going to give him the shot. We got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. 3 finishes in his last 4 fights. Is not going to get a shot on the top 15. Only 1 decision in his last 7 UFC fights. He's not going to get that shot up. Joe Pyfer. All KOs. All round 1, round 2 TKOs. 4 in a row. Every fight of his is a finish. Nah, we're not going to give him a step up. Ikram, 1 win over Phil Hawes. We give him the step up. Andre Petroski, undefeated now inside of the UFC. Submitting and finishing so many of his opponents. Not getting that step up. Hamzat Chimaev is here as well. They're probably going to get him his push as well in the UFC's middleweight division. I mean, these are just some of the examples of guys that would deserve it more so than some of the guys that are getting that push up in the UFC's middleweight division. And the last thing, I mean, we have all of these examples from confirmed fights, and we have one more unconfirmed, not official, not even rumored in my opinion. It's not 100% for sure. But we got another guy from the Caucasus region in Sharupdin Magomedov. Ali Abdelaziz said his fight was going to be later this year. His UFC debut was going to be later on this year in 2023. And it's not official, but we're hearing rumors now that Sharupdin Magomedov, a guy that is 0-0 in the UFC, is going to make his UFC debut on UFC 294 against Derek Brunson. If the Caucas takeover is not happening, I don't know what you guys are looking at. There is a clear and utter takeover of the middleweight division with all guys from Russia. All guys with some sort of lineage taking them back to that Russian Caucasus region of the world. And I don't know what the UFC's plan is here, but they're really, really pushing multiple guys in the middleweight division. What do y'all think? Do any of these Caucasus fighters have the chance and have the ability to become UFC champ? Put your thoughts down below.